The most important aspect of my campaign is community outreach. I believe community outreach is important as getting involved can strengthen both our ties in terms of where we reside as well as our relationships with one another. A strong and involved community is especially essential during times of crises in order to establish a functioning support network.
The single most important issue to me as a Senate candidate is increasing equity for underrepresented groups here at UCSB.
My top priority in my platform is expanding access to resources such as CAPS and CARE because students' emotional, mental, and physical well-being should be the school's top priority.
Look, it might sound a little cynical, but I know firsthand as a senator that the #1 way to impact real change in this association is to ensure that our money, our student fees, are spent wisely and toward initiatives that we really care about. That's my #1 issue moving into this campaign, and as I hope to be re-elected to be your senator next year.
As a Senate candidate, I believe that building community among students is crucial. It's important to recognize shared experiences and to support one another, especially in challenging times. That's why I'm committed to promoting student organizations and events that foster interconnectedness and friendships on campus. Together, we can build a strong and inclusive community for all students.
Hello, my name is Justin Galloway and I'm a first-year political science student at UCSB. The most important part of my platform is parking reform. Students pay about $8 a day for parking and fines start at $48 and only go up. The cheapest option for commuters is $120 a quarter, while at other UCs it is cheaper. For example, at UCR, it is only $48 a quarter for the cheapest option. We also do not have free parking on the weekends, which is something that is standard at many other colleges. That is far too expensive, and it puts a sizable financial burden on students.
Inclusivity and diversity is one of our greatest strengths here at UCSB, developing a community where everyone is welcome to be who they want to be and share their cultural backgrounds. I will advocate for our cultural clubs off campus and work on strengthening those ties between opportunities that can be found at the SRB. I will advocate for funding to different cultural clubs to help provide opportunities for educating their cultures and communities.
As someone who's advocated for mental health and students with disabilities, among other groups, for many years now, I know that there can be a lot of obstacles that stand in the way of students feeling included in their campus communities. I believe that everyone, no matter their background, deserves to feel safe and appreciated on and off campus, and as a senator, I'll make it my priority to advocate for those who don't currently feel heard in their student government.
The single platform that is most important to me is accessibility. All needs for our off-campus residents should not only be heard and met, but they should also be readily available to all. This year, on Associated Students, I've done work revolving around exposure. For example, getting people to know where their resources are within Associated Students and how to use them.
The single most important item on my platform is expanding the basic needs and resources available to off-campus students in the student body. This is because although on-campus resources are plentiful, access to these resources for students living off-campus is difficult and timely. Providing a connection between off-campus students with on-campus resources is something that can be done with solutions such as pop-up shops and/or food banks in IV. To ensure a healthy campus, it is imperative that off-campus students have equal access to campus resources as do on-campus students.
Ensuring the safety of students both on and off campus is incredibly important to me. Students shouldn't feel anxious or vulnerable due to potential dangers in Isla Vista or on campus, and student safety should be everyone's #1 priority.
I have seen countless situations of close friends who have had a couch crash or find other living accommodations as a result of reasons outside of their control. It is important that UCSB provides resources, financial assistance, and recommendation for relocation for these displaced students. I believe we should designate a portion of UCSB's resident halls or off-campus housing to act as a temporary living situation for students who meet these certain unforeseen circumstances.
In light of recent events, it's vital that our association work with administration in order to create more disaster housing to serve students in the event of sudden evictions and cliff erosion.
To help displaced students, I would propose legislation that would create an emergency temporary relocation program for students displaced by natural disaster and ensure available resources to find more permanent housing.
While individual senators can neither control cliff erosion nor predatory housing policies, the Senate together and the association can help students throughout UCSB make sure that we have safe, affordable housing. The way to do this is simple. The Senate has huge influence through our resolutions and through our funding, and we need to apply pressure to make sure that students get the housing they need.
As an off-campus senator, I would use my platform to inform students about their rights as tenants and resources available to them. I would also work to mandate that landlords communicate with their tenants about potential risks from cliff erosion and take steps to address those risks promptly. By doing so, we can help ensure that students are protected and have the support they need if they are displaced due to cliff erosion.
I would use my position of off-campus senator to help those affected by cliff erosion through diverting resources and funds to help those affected through funding potential housing alternatives, as well as funding inspections of the beach and cliffs near the UCSB campus.
I would propose ways of working with hotels and local Airbnbs to allow students to live there until it is safe for them to return to their homes. This could help reduce the financial burden on students and their families who may not be able to afford more expensive housing solutions.
Safety of the community of Isla Vista is a top priority to me. As an Isla Vista resident myself, I know how scary it can be to find and keep housing within this housing crisis, and I plan to do everything I can with this position to work with organizations within the community to make sure that cliff erosion is monitored and student tenants know their rights if their housing becomes threatened.
It's very easy for someone to say that they can make a change without fulfilling that commitment. I'm advocating for change to happen now, and if not now, as soon as possible. I would like to push for more university-owned housing with the exclusion of Munger Hall. This new university-owned housing could serve for the purpose of housing people who have been displaced due to cliff erosion. It would also provide safer housing options rather than living with the risk of being displaced due to cliff erosion.
To help students displaced as a result of cliff erosion, with millions of dollars of funding our student government collects from students, we should invest that money right back into students. And that means allocating funding into emergency disaster preparation for students who experience housing insecurity due to natural disasters. We could set funds to do things like paying for hotel rooms for displaced students, stockpiling free bedding supplies for students, and ensuring that displaced students have free access to dining halls so they never have to worry about going hungry. These are all things we can do now with our funding.
As off-campus senator, I would work to provide both short-term and long-term solutions to help students possibly displaced to cliff erosion. Some short-term solutions would be working with hotels around the area to provide temporary housing for students who are displaced, and also working to provide some financial support, so emergency loans or emergency grants for students who are displaced. Long-term solutions would be talking to administration and the city on if there are different ways we can try and minimize the risk of cliff erosion and the ruin of houses in the future.
Infrastructure and policy in Isla Vista and the greater Goleta area still lack in many ways. As an off-campus senator, I will work with local Isla Vista governance, Amtrak, IVTU, and other organizations to improve public transportation and quality of life for all UCSB students.
One of the most significant issues for off-campus residents is landlords that like to prey on young renters. To fix this, I would ensure residents have available resources to keep landlords accountable and the tools to fight back when landlords violate tenants' rights.
Undeniably, the largest issue affecting students living off campus is the persistent Isla Vista housing crisis. There are many things that need to get done to fix it, but on that way, we need to ensure that the university understands that it's a priority of the association that Isla Vista policies are set in such a way that housing can be made cheap and available to all of us.
One of the biggest challenges facing students who live off campus is the lack of affordable housing options near the university. By partnering with the Isla Vista Tenants Union and the IVCSD, we can work together to increase the availability of affordable housing in the area. This means pushing back against landlords and profiteering property management companies using advocacy.
I believe that the biggest challenge facing off-campus students in Isla Vista is the financial burdens placed upon them. These include burdens such as high parking rates, as well as inconvenient dining hall policies which do not financially benefit the students. These could be fixed through reforming these systems.
The biggest challenges facing students who live off campus is the issue of food insecurity. It is an issue for many students off campus who are not close to the food pantry on campus. The co-op is very helpful, although it can be expensive. By using Embarcadero Hall, Ivy Community Center, or Ivy Theater, it would provide an easier option for students living off campus to access food.
Isla Vista is a beautiful community where everyone deserves to feel included, but safety has recently become a major concern for many groups of students. As a senator, I hope to work with a diverse range of student organizations to make sure that student government is doing everything it can to make as many students feel safe and appreciated within their community.
I think that one of the biggest challenges facing off-campus students would be our transportation system. Currently, we mainly use bikes, limes, cars, and buses, but they all have concerns. To fix this, I would like to introduce more funding to the bus system, as well as investing in zip cars that have been successful on other campuses.
One of the biggest challenges facing students living off campus is the quality of roads and bike paths. It is no secret that the bike paths and roads have not been maintained, and witnessing accidents due to this is not uncommon. Therefore, for the safety and convenience for all students, I will spend my first quarter as a senator allocating resources and funding from our student government to improve the road conditions to make getting to campus easier and safer for all students off and on campus.
Dealing with leasing companies is one of the biggest issues off-campus students face. To fix this issue, I want to work with the Isla Vista Tenants Union to provide more information on what leasing companies can and can't do legally, just because I feel like that's kind of an iffy area for most students.